Wow, what a great crowd. Nice to see you all. Thanks for the great weather, by the way. I woke up early this morning and I went and looked at the weather app on my phone to see what the weather was like in Detroit. And I had stopped my breath for a second when it said 30. I know that's nothing for you guys, but in Hawaii, you know, when it drops below 68 degrees, we bust out the puffy jackets. It's so good to be here. Some of you might not know, but I have Michigan roots. My mom grew up in Grand Rapids. She graduated from East Grand Rapids High, went to University of Michigan. So it's great to be here. Mom and Dad are in Hawaii right now, but Mom called. She wished she could be here to join us because obviously she loves Michigan, but she understands how important this election is. And that's why I'm here. My mom grew up, my grandfather served in World War II, blue-collar, working-class family, and the values that she grew up with are the values that she instilled in us, 5 kids, growing up in Hawaii. Those values of faith, family, and freedom. When I spoke with Tudor Dixon on the phone a couple of weeks ago, and I was asking her about her race, learning more about her, where she comes from, and what's motivating her to do this thing. It's a big thing. And that was where we connected. It resonated so much in my heart that she and her family were sacrificing their lives and their time out of their concern for our kids and our future. There is so much at stake in this election. You know, Shane mentioned I made a little bit of news a couple of weeks ago. Did you hear? Oh, okay, just checking. You know, I've always been an independent-minded person, and for the 8 years that I served in Congress and when I ran for president, I was never shy about calling it straight. If my party or my party's leaders were wrong in their decisions, I said so. And the same when there was a Republican leader in office, which I think is the testament of leadership, that we need leaders who put the well-being of the American people first. And so for me, when I joined, and maybe some of you can relate to this yourselves or someone in your family, when I joined the Democrat Party, I was 21 years old in Hawaii. I had grown up obviously in a beautiful place. I was really passionate about protecting our home. And so when there was an opportunity to actually be in a position of leadership to help protect our oceans and our mountains, this beautiful place, I had to start to think about, as I was filling out the election papers, which party do I align with? It's not anything I ever really thought about before. And I chose the Democratic Party at the time because I was inspired by leaders like President Kennedy. I was inspired by leaders like Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. People who embodied what America was about. Inclusive, welcoming of everyone, fighting for the little guy, fighting for working people, fighting for freedom, civil liberties, civil rights, the right to free speech, the right to practice whatever religion you choose or not at all. I saw them as representations of a government of, by, and for the people. And that's why it's so heartbreaking now, how over time, the Democrat Party is unrecognizable to the party I joined. They are a party that is of, by, and for the elite, and they have forgotten the rest of us. When you listen to the kinds of things that they're talking about on television, when you look at the kinds of policies and proposals that they're putting forward, I literally wonder, what fantasy world are you living in? When Vice President Kamala Harris says, hey, our borders are secure, MSNBC was like, hold on a second. There are more people crossing our borders illegally now than we've ever seen before. How can you say that borders are secure? That's just one of many different examples, unfortunately, about how dismissive they are about the fact that our economy is suffering. Inflation is continuing to rise. The small amount of money that people are making working 1 or 2 jobs is worth less and less every day, and it's supposed to get worse, not better, if we continue down this track. And to have these people who claim to fight for the most vulnerable, who claim to be the most compassionate, to fight for the weakest among us, to turn their targets on our kids is the most egregious offense. And that to me is what this election is about. You know, you hear so much rhetoric, you hear all the toxic messages, the smear campaigns on television, which, by the way, just a little side note here, this is the common theme that I've seen as I've traveled to help other great Americans who are running for office in different states. It's what I've experienced, is that if any one of us as Americans dares to challenge their position on issues and say, no, that's wrong, that's bad for our kids, that's bad for America, that's bad for our country, there's no comeback to say, no, well, here's why we're right. They don't do that. Instead, they just try to distract and deflect with these crazy lies and crazy smears that make no sense and have no grip on reality, which just exposes the weakness of their position. It exposes how insecure they really are, that they cannot stand before you as voters and speak on the strength of what they are proposing. That should be a waving red flag for anyone who is undecided. We came from another event before coming here, and I stood there and I listened to Tudor's speech about what she stands for, what she stands against, and what she will do as your governor. That is the sign of a true leader. That is a sign of someone with courage and conviction and principles, of a leader who knows exactly what she's fighting for and who she's fighting for. Every single one of you. And that's where I want to just encourage all of you, in the same way that I'm really happy to be here and I'm excited to be here, is because I know what's at stake. We have to look beyond the labels that they attach to us, so often used to divide us, to pit us one against the other, to try to make us forget who we really are, and how we are all connected, and how we are stronger as Americans when we stand together. There are things that we share in common: a love for this great country, an appreciation for the Constitution of the United States, our God-given rights that are enshrined in that Constitution. We care for our families. We want our kids to be able to grow up in a safe place and to live their great potential and celebrate these freedoms that we love and appreciate so much. I would not be here with you in Michigan today if I was not, in my heart of hearts, deeply concerned that the very heart of our country is at risk because of the Democrat Party that's in charge right now, taking every opportunity to undermine our freedoms, having the audacity to come and say, hey, we know what's better for your kids than you do, parents. How dare they? Every person in this country find that as deeply offensive as it actually is. So as we go forward in these next 10 days, that's my request of every one of you. All of you in the back, I want to make sure you don't get left behind. My request to every one of you, don't underestimate the power that's in your hands. It's so easy for every one of us to feel a little helpless sometimes when you see the barrage of noise and everything that's going on news and the media working with the political parties in power. What can one of us actually do? Don't underestimate the power that each of you has, because every one of you has people in your life who trust you, who respect you, who care about what you think and how you feel. Regardless of political party or maybe differences you might have on other things, think about those people in your life who over the next 10 days you can connect with, you can talk to, you can look in their eyes and tell you why you care so much about this election, why you're supporting Tudor Dixon for governor, and what the alternative is if we stay home. There is nothing short of the future for our kids and our freedom and what defines us in this country at stake in this election. I don't say those words lightly. Our founders had this beautiful vision for this country and very carefully chose those first three words of the Declaration. We the people. We the people. Not them, those other people. Not those people in Washington and we just get to sit home and complain about them. Or not the people who occupy the state capitals and we'll just complain and hope something changes. No, they said we the people. That means it's on us. We have to take ownership of the kind of future we want. We have to take action if we want to see change. The change that we have within our grasp in the next 10 days is exactly the potential, the vision that they had for us. A government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And now I know that you have looked into her eyes as she's traveled all across your state over the last year. I know you have heard her speak from her heart as she's thinking about her 4 little girls growing up and what kind of future she's fighting for them. Please join me in welcoming your next governor.